Thank you everybody for joining us on a day which you may think is gray for LA, but this is a great solar producing day like all here in Los Angeles. And we are celebrating not just another milestone in our fight against climate change, but also a step to build a more sustainable city, starting with buildings that the city owns, the city controls, and the city can lead by example in making sure that we have renewable energy. Everybody has heard it is code red. The United Nations, the science is clear. This is the make or break decade of our lives, where we will either make this a decade of action, the climate decade, or we will continue to suffer with the drought, the fire, the extreme weather, the flooding, the migration, the disruption that is a part of climate change that is human-made. And thanks to our partnership with an extraordinary city council and 2 city council members, and I want to thank Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, our chair, in particular his leadership of a motion that both he and Councilmember Krikorian, who has been a green champion for decades. We are putting an unprecedented $30 million down on our renewable energy future. I'm so proud to share this news alongside leaders across our city. As I mentioned, we have a city committed to this. Tony Royster, our general manager of our General Services Department, in charge of all of our buildings. Gary Lee Moore, general manager of the Bureau of Engineering. Mike Scholl, who is the general manager of our Rec and Parks program and who I met at Green Meadows to look at DWP and our Rec and Parks working together to build a truly green park. And Cynthia McLean-Hill, our board president of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And Lisa Hart from the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, as well as Mary Leslie, our longtime champion of solar power and president of the Los Angeles Business Council. When we launched LA's Green New Deal 2 years ago, we set the city on course to lead, not just for LA, but for the world. And we kicked off 2020, a decade of climate action, with Executive Directive 25, which placed city government at the forefront of this transformation. Simply put, we're not asking you to do anything that we're not doing first. In spite of a pandemic and a downturn, we have made incredible progress in this last 18 months. Most notably, thanks also to motions that were put forward by Councilmember Krikorian, City Council, on 100% renewable energy. We did the work. We did the study and we showed that we can not only get to 100% renewable energy, we'll get 97% of the way there by the end of this decade, and all the way there by 2035, the first major city in America to do that. It will be cheaper, it'll be more reliable, and it will help save our planet. So who doesn't want to save money? Who doesn't want to save the planet? Who doesn't want to save lives? That's what today is all about. And today with our buildings, we're announcing we'll be able to expand our energy storage so we can avoid disruptive blackouts. When we see temperatures rise and the stress that is on our lines, if any of them go down, having distributed power on our buildings means that Angelenos can get their power when they need it. They can go to cooling centers when they need to cool off so that we don't have seniors who lose their lives. So we're going to be adding adding to our more than 45 existing solar power facilities because it makes sense, and $30 million speaks for itself. Our department's energy bills will go down. That means more money for programs that you care about in your neighborhood, paving more streets, youth programs. And in turn, we will also create more jobs. So this is a win for our economy, a win for our ecology, a win for our health, and a win for our operations. So with that, let me turn it over to our next speaker, and I'll come back in Spanish for those of you who need it. Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, and the chair of all the environmental work that we're doing. He represents the 13th district. As I've always said, I love all my districts equally, but I love that one just a little bit more, Mr. Krikorian, but the second is awesome too. And he chairs our Energy, Climate Change, Environmental Justice, and River Committee, and is a driving force behind this. Mitch O'Farrell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I have the great privilege of standing on the shoulders of environmental leaders such as Mayor Garcetti and my great friend and colleague, Paul Krikorian. And today isn't just about checking the box of Mr. Krikorian's LA 100 plan. It's putting skin in the game here in the city with all of the departments so that we can lead by example with real results right here in the city facilities, et cetera, on how to get to that LA 100 by 2035, which is essentially 13 years from now. And we know how quickly that time passes. I want to give a special thank you to you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership, ensuring Los Angeles signs the C40 Renewable Energy Initiative as part of the C40 World Cities from every corner. working harder than ever to stop the oncoming climate crises that the planet is now dealing with. And with good reason. The facts are real, as you just heard. Human activity is unequivocally impacting the planet. The oceans, the atmosphere, land are all warming year after year. We just wrapped up the hottest summer in California history. And you can see the example of that by the fires. Just a few weeks ago, on September 1st, this council and mayor approved the LA 100 strategic long-term resource plan process, ensuring that the Department of Water and Power immediately plans and implements a just transition into carbon-free Los Angeles. And I want to thank our commission president, Cynthia McLean-Hill, for really leaning in on defining what a just transition is, because we're all on board with that. And earlier this year, I introduced an initiative seeking to build the largest solar battery EV project on city land yet at the LA Zoo, set to generate at least 3 megawatts of solar voltaic energy and at least 1 megawatt of storage, including improved EV charging and access, all under a solar car canopy. And that's symbolic in a few ways. It's the LA Zoo program that saved the California condor. We went from 22 left in the world, on the planet, in the 80s and 90s. We now have over 500 because of the zoo program. And I think symbolically, the zoo is a wonderful place to start to bring us back from the brink of a climate catastrophe. As this story of conservation tells us, coordination and hard work are both important and matter greatly. The city of LA must take action and prepare as many facilities, buildings, literally everything under the sun as feasible to ensure that we have a clean energy, zero carbon future. We are leading the nation, and yes, this is hard stuff. Transforming the second largest city in the country will take resolve, coordination, prioritization, and monetization of our zero carbon 2035 or sooner commitment. It means intelligently planning and paying for improvements year after year with a relentless commitment in coordination with the Department of Water and Power. Each department mentioned and the few that are here will play a pivotal role in that coordinated, focused deployment. Like LA 100, it will be my goal to include this work together with my colleagues, an equitable and just hiring transition into green jobs that will be focused on uplifting Angelenos who have traditionally been neglected. Like with LA 100, we'll make sure that these jobs are offered to Angelenos from all over the city, but especially focused on our working class and communities of color. It will be my focus to ensure that our carbon-free policies focus on equitable hiring. I lastly, again, want to give thanks to my good friend and colleague, Paul Krikorian, and the Budget Committee for approving this $30 million investment. As I said, it's real skin in the game as never before on focusing the city, ensuring that the future generations will get and be able to maintain a clean, zero carbon Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Mr. Garcetti, for your incredible leadership here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilmember O'Farrell. Next up, a council member who leads our budget efforts and has been just an extraordinary friend and leader. His work in the State Assembly spoke for itself as well. Now here, he's up the game even more. Please welcome Paul Krikorian from the 2nd District.
Thank you, Mayor, and what an honor it is for me to be able to stand here with two incredible environmental champions and friends. Mayor Garcetti, who through his creation of the Los Angeles Sustainability Plan, and really long before he was mayor, throughout his time in council as well, has really set the standard for environmental protection, bold visions in just about every area of sustainability where Los Angeles has led the rest of the country, thanks to Mayor Garcetti's leadership. And of course, Councilmember O'Farrell, who has so capably led our Energy Committee and has taken the lead on so many issues that I've cared about and been so passionate about for years, like renewable energy, like eliminating plastics from our environment, and in so many other areas where his leadership and guidance has driven us forward. And it's an honor to be here with both of you. You know, when we talk about climate change, more often than not, there's this sort of sense that there's doom out ahead someplace. Years from now, something catastrophic is going to happen. And we set deadlines and we say, oh, in the next decade, this or that is going to happen. And folks, I want to emphasize the fact, Mayor Garcetti mentioned the recent UN Red Alert study. I want to emphasize the fact that we are experiencing the catastrophic impacts of climate change today as we're standing here. I serve on the board of Metrolink, our regional railway here, commuter railway. And today, Metrolink trains cannot pass from Los Angeles down to the San Diego area because there is a cliff that's in danger of falling down because rising sea levels are causing erosion of the sand, which is causing that cliff to threaten the safety of those rail lines. And you can look at, our electrical utility infrastructure throughout the state. You can look at the impacts of these catastrophic wildfires that we're having, partly because of that infrastructure, and then the impact that those fires have on that infrastructure. And you have to see from that we have a choice. We can invest right now in the infrastructure that it's going to take to keep people alive in the era of climate change, or we can invest right now in the kind of infrastructure that will prevent climate change from getting worse. Those are the choices before us. Sitting on our hands and not investing is not an option. And so globally, we have to accept that this is the mission ahead of us. But it's also not just a global issue. This is not just a situation where Los Angeles is doing its part as one city of many. And I know that Mayor Garcetti in his future endeavors as well will continue to push United States global leadership on climate change issues. But it's not just global. It's very much local as well. Because DWP, generating our electricity here, has a dramatic and profound impact on the health of people in Los Angeles, on the quality of life in neighborhoods in Los Angeles when we have in-basin fossil fuel electricity generation. So if we want to protect the planet, if we want to protect our local air quality, if we want to protect the integrity and quality of Los Angeles neighborhoods, if we want to protect the jobs of the 21st century and make sure those stay in Los Angeles, then we must make these investments in clean energy today. And so what we're talking about today, Mr. O'Farrell's initiative that he took to invest $30 million in rooftop generation on municipal facilities, but all of the other things that we're doing to ensure that we get to the LA 100 goals, these are essential down payments of what are going to be long-term, much larger investments to ensure our contribution to reducing climate change, our fight to preserve air quality here, our fight for good jobs, and our fight for more equitable treatment of our neighborhoods here in Los Angeles. So I hope that our friends in Sacramento will be watching what we're doing here in Los Angeles. And I especially hope that our friends in Washington, D.C. will watch what we're doing here in Los Angeles, because they have an opportunity before them right now with the surpluses that we have in Sacramento and with the massive infrastructure bill that's pending in our capital right now in Washington, D.C. We have an opportunity as a society to follow the leadership of Los Angeles and transform the economy of America in a way that will preserve our planet and preserve good jobs throughout America. So we're taking the first steps. I hope the rest of the country will soon follow us. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Councilmember. And yes, our message to Washington is crystal clear. Pass that and pass that now. Pass that infrastructure package as well as the reconciliation bill as soon as possible. You will see it be spent as we are doing here. Now I'd like to hand over to the leaders of the city departments who will implement this. And I'd like to start with our general manager of our general services department, Tony Royster, who's already led the way with electric vehicle purchases, with previous solar installations, but is going to make this happen. Then Mike Scholl will follow him from the Department of Recreation and Parks. And finally, Gary Lee Moore, before I ask our LADWP board president, Cynthia McLean Hill, to close it out. So 1, 2, 3, and then the grand finale. Why don't we start with you, Mr. Royster?
I would like to express my appreciation and gratitude to Mayor Garcetti and to the council, City Council, for their leadership and assistance with identifying critical resources to expand solar, power storage, and EV charging at city facilities. Our department maintains over 700 buildings where in the past 5 years we have saved 76 million kilowatts from various energy conservation projects. With this funding, Los Angeles can continue to lead by example and implement the next phase of clean projects to make our buildings more energy efficient. I look forward working with our partners present today to implement this vital component of the city's goals under the Green New Deal and LA 100 plan. Thanks for allowing GSD to be a part of this exciting program. Thank you.
Good morning. Mike Scholl, General Manager, Recreation and Parks. Very proud today to stand with our mayor, city council members, general managers, commissioners, and neighborhood council members. As stewards of our city's park system, our department has a responsibility to do everything in our power to advance climate justice and grow opportunities in environmental education. We face impacts of the climate crisis every day throughout the park system, whether it's severe drought, increased frequency of wildfires, extreme heat, or poor air quality. Establishing a solar and storage program is a tangible solution that will allow our department and communities to better prepare for future disasters, ensure power for critical needs, maximize clean energy, and as the mayor stated, really reduce our maintenance and utility costs. Disproportionate burdens often fall in our low-income areas. These funds provide amazing opportunities throughout the park system to build resilience, like we are doing with the solar battery storage project at Green Meadows Recreation Center in South LA with partnership with the Department of Water and Power. The park system should and needs to play a very significant role around these critical issues. Enhancing the quality of life of our community is part of our mission. I applaud the mayor and city council for accelerating our collective commitment with resources that demonstrates clean energy, which allows us to educate the tens of thousands of children and families that come through the park's doors every day. This is really going to equip them with the knowledge and the resources to ultimately help all of us combat climate change. Thank you very much.
Good morning. It's great to be here, and I just want to say thanks to Mayor Garcetti, Councilman O'Farrell, and Councilman Kokorian for their leadership on this issue. The Bureau of Engineering has been a consistent advocate of the green economy through our designs and technologies incorporated into our projects. To date, we've completed 62 projects that are LEED certified. That's 1.9 million square feet of buildings with a construction value of $1.2 billion. 5 of which are platinum facilities. But as you've heard the mayor and the council members say, we need to raise the bar, and we're doing that. We now have 5 projects pursuing net zero energy. And all of our new designs are all electric. And we're proud to partner with our fellow departments and working especially with Tony Royster and the Department of General Services on their electrical vehicle charging. We look forward to providing cutting-edge engineering and design expertise to realize the mayor and the council's goal of 100% carbon-free energy environment by 2035. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to join our mayor, Eric Garcetti, members of the City Council, our community and business partners, and fellow city departments to celebrate this commitment to invest in clean, green, renewable energy and energy storage projects at city facilities. We're beginning to make these celebrations and announcements a regular occasion. And we're looking forward to joining each of you more frequently as you break ground and complete projects across our city. With the leadership standing here today and that of my fellow commissioners at LADWP, we've set a course to achieve 100% carbon-free power by 2035. And through the dedication and hard work of the women and men of each of our departments, we're going to reach that goal. It is said that budget is a reflection of one's values. Budgets are also where the rubber meets the road. Without the funding to build more projects that follow through on policy, those plans become nothing more than empty promises. This mayor and this city council have consistently followed through and committed money necessary to reach our goals. We look forward to working with each of you, our sister departments, by offering technical assistance from our expert staff and through partnerships to make your projects a reality. The work our teams will partner on will transform our city's power supply and is an integral part of building a stronger, more vibrant, prosperous Los Angeles. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Cynthia, so much. And finally, we have two people from outside City Hall, real people, right? Although, Cynthia, you're real too. She's a civilian who volunteers her time. But we are so pleased to have, first of all, Lisa Hart, who is part of the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. As a board member, as an activist in Silver Lake and other places, she has really led the way translating this down to the local level. Lisa, we are so excited to have you here. And as I mentioned, Mary Leslie, who helped us pass some of the most important legislation on solar. So when I was city council president, worked with us now in the city council in the last 8 years as well. We're extraordinarily happy to have both of you here, two amazing women. Lisa, come on forward.
Good morning. COVID has been a stark reminder of the importance of self-reliance and of the value of connecting with our neighbors. This applies to the climate crisis too, which is ramping up in case you hadn't noticed. We need to do more, and we need to do it more quickly to try to slow down and get ready for it. And I applaud Council Members O'Farrell and Krikorian for moving us toward more solar and more storage. Solar plus storage helps us do right by the environment and clean up our air while providing sources of power in our communities that can keep cooling centers running during the extreme heat that we know is coming. And on a related note, the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance has been working on getting us to stop relying on greenhouse gases in our buildings and our homes. And I'm thrilled to hear that the City of LA has signed the C40 Renewable Energy Declaration, putting us on a path to clean cooking and heating. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, good morning. Thank you, Mayor and Councilman Krikorian and O'Farrell for inviting us here today. For more than a decade now, the Los Angeles Business Council has pushed to expand our local solar goals while promoting programs such as DWP's Solar Rooftop program that benefits not just our environment, but our economy and our health. Thanks to the leadership of the mayor and the city council, aggressive goals set by the city of LA and LADWP has allowed us to be the #1 solar city in America, with over 480 megawatts installed and providing power to the grid. This translates to a recent E2 study that showed us that LA has nearly 87,000 total clean energy jobs, 15,000 of which are directly related to the renewable energy sector. The private sector has played a key role in these accomplishments. The innovation and investment from solar developers, financiers, property owners, and many others have created a new industry in LA, incentivized local manufacturing, directly created thousands of jobs, and saved money for homeowners and businesses, and now government, and particularly in low-income areas. And we will go further. A recent LA 100 study found that we will meet our 100% renewable energy goals by 2035. The city will create more than 11,000 jobs annually. That's annually, from construction and installation alone. The investment comes into a region with over billions of dollars that will be invested here to create a clean tech market on the scale that we have not seen yet in the U.S. And there is much more work to be done. To meet our 2035 target, LA must increase solar rooftop adoption by a minimum of 3 gigawatts. That's why we are glad to see our city leaders step up and put $30 million in this budget for solar and storage on municipal facilities. The city is leading by example, and they are doing so collaboratively. This will be an effort that involves government, the private sector, and community organizations. At the end of this process, the city will prove that we have seen time and time again when increasing solar adoption, we will save money, we will reduce harmful greenhouse gas emissions, and we will create local jobs and investment. And with the addition of storage, we will be increasing our grid resiliency and reliability, which is critical, preparing LA for an increasingly erratic climate environment. The LABC and our members are excited to be partners in this process, and we look forward to providing the expertise and resources necessary to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Leslie. To a press that's been very patient, I'll also reward you with a little bit of very exciting news that in this next month and a half, we're going to see the largest commitment anywhere in the world by any levels of government made by cities. At the COP, which is the Conference of Parties in Glasgow, that's where Paris Accords were made. We'll be leading here from Los Angeles as many as 1,000 cities around the world, which comprise more than a quarter of the world's GDP, to make a new pledge towards the same sort of energy independence and renewability that we are doing here in Los Angeles. We think, though we remain optimistic, that national governments can come together and make a big pledge. Cities will lead the way in 2021. This will be the largest government pledge anywhere on the face of the earth this year, and one of the largest in human history, to be completely carbon-free by 2050 and to get halfway there by 2030 in these cities across every continent. We're already over 837 cities, and we think that we can hit as many as 1,000 just over a month from now when the world convenes in Glasgow. And finally, it was here at City Hall on Friday that we had, as part of the student strikes around the world, the largest gatherings of young people in the world since the pandemic began. They estimate over 1,400 locations around the world. Angelino youth were here till 2 a.m. calling on their leaders to take action. I think 3 days later ain't a bad response, and thank you, council members, to our business community, to our neighborhood council and neighborhood communities, as well as these great leaders that are behind us. So with that, anybody need Spanish? We good? Okay. If no Spanish, then be happy to answer any questions. Sure. Anybody got anything on this first? Go ahead, then. Yeah. No, I'm not. We have sufficient vaccination capacity in this country to easily meet the new guidelines for those who are vulnerable or seniors who need a booster shot to get them. So I'm very confident that we'll have the capacity to do that. And that capacity has really moved to the neighborhoods. When folks are saying, will that be Dodger Stadium? We won't have those massive vac sites, because now you can go to your local pharmacy, you can go to your provider, you can go to your doctor. So we're very confident that we'll be able to meet that need. Well, I don't want to bury any more Angelinos, is what I say. My first responsibility, and to the council members' first responsibility here, is to preserve lives. I've talked to too many widows and widowers. I've buried too many of our own, including those in uniform. My responsibility is to save lives, and the evidence is clear. 91% chance higher of being hospitalized without a vaccination. And the folks that are dying, almost all of them, are unvaccinated, except for the very smallest numbers. If you want to save lives, get vaccinated. If you want our economy to move forward and not talk to a business owner right now, they are not back at full capacity. We will never get back to a thriving economy and save lives if we don't get vaccinated. Well, I look forward to our medical community giving us evidence of whether you can mix and match. I think Johnson & Johnson just put out something that a second dose is effective and could be used, but we're waiting for FDA approval of that. My wife got Johnson & Johnson, I got Moderna, so Moderna is holding very strong in its ability to keep you protected even without a booster. So if you've got Moderna, you're in good shape, and Johnson & Johnson, I look forward to seeing whether boosters are needed, whether it's for those at risk or just the general population that got the one shot. Yep. Yes. It's going to be a very exciting race, and I'm looking forward to following it as everybody else is too. I love Karen Bass, and it's going to be a very exciting race with all sorts of candidates in it. And nice thing about being a former mayor sometime in the distant future, or not too long, is that I'll get to assess the candidates and I get to be a voter. So I can't wait to hear what all the candidates have to say. And I'm really excited we have candidates who can continue the momentum that you see reflected in a conference like this today. But the only campaign I care about right now today is solar winning the day. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.